And you are the most treacherous, evil...
Oh, Mike!
You little...
Mike! Stop it! Stop it!
Back it in, the pair of you!
Come on!
On April 13th, 2012, William Roache sat down for an interview with Piers Morgan for Life Stories. He was 80 years old. He'd been playing Ken Barlow for over 50 years. And Piers asked him about Sarah, about the night his wife died. Bill's voice broke as he told the story. We were in bed one night and she just died. No big heart attack or stroke. She just died in my arms.
You're really enjoying this, aren't you?
Hey, as a matter of fact, I am.
Hey!
Bastard! Not this one!
It took 9 months to work out the cause. Sarah's body had simply stopped producing the chemical to make her heart beat. She was 58 years old. They'd been married for 31 years, and she died in his arms, without warning, without goodbye. That interview revealed something the public hadn't fully understood. William Roache, the longest-serving television actor in the world, had lived through unimaginable tragedy, the loss of 2 daughters, the sudden death of his wife, a broken first marriage. And through it all, he'd kept going, kept playing Ken Barlow, kept showing up to work at Coronation Street.
Like it's a humiliation every time I go into the corner shop or the Rovers and I see them all nodding to themselves and tittle-tattling.
Today, at 92 years old, Bill is still there, still filming, still playing Ken. And the truth about why he's never left reveals a man who found salvation in routine, who needed Coronation Street to survive the grief that would have destroyed anyone else. William Patrick Roache was born on April 25, 1932, in the Basford suburb of Nottingham. His father, Joseph William Vincent Roache, was a doctor. His mother, Hester Vera, came from an unusual family. Bill's maternal grandmother, Mary Zilla Watercourt, was a successful businesswoman who ran a restaurant and tea rooms at Alton Towers. But his grandfather, Albert Watercourt, was a violent drunk. That darkness ran through the family. Bill grew up in Ilkeston, Derbyshire. His grandfather on his father's side was a physician and surgeon, a Freemason interested in theosophy, esotericism, spiritualism, and the teachings of Rudolf Steiner. He even set up a Steiner school in the family's garden. Bill attended that school as a child. Later, he was educated at Rydal School. In 1953, at 21 years old, Bill joined the British Army. He was commissioned into the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. A year later, he was promoted to lieutenant. He left in 1956 with the rank of captain, but his military service left a permanent mark. During a training exercise, an exploding mortar round left Bill with tinnitus and 50% hearing loss in both ears. For the rest of his life, he'd wear a hearing aid. The ringing in his ears never stopped. After leaving the military, Bill turned to acting. He appeared in various stage productions. He had uncredited roles in films, small parts in television serials like Knight Errant Limited and Skyport. In 1960, shortly before joining Coronation Street, Bill played the leading role in a Granada television play called Marking Time. He played a young soldier in Germany who had a relationship with a German girl. Tony Warren, who created Coronation Street, saw that play, and he thought Bill was right for Ken Barlow. On December 9, 1960, Coronation Street aired its first episode. Bill Roache was there from the beginning, playing Ken Barlow, a young university student returning to his working-class roots in Weatherfield. Ken was educated, ambitious, different from his family. The character was designed to be the intellectual voice of the street, the voice of reason. In 1961, Bill married actress Anna Cropper. They had 2 children together, a son, Linus, born in 1964, who would later become an actor himself, and a daughter, Vanya, born in 1967. But the marriage was troubled. Bill was away in Manchester, filming Coronation Street from Monday to Friday. Anna was working as well. They saw each other rarely, and Bill, by his own admission, was unfaithful. Years later, in interviews, he'd be honest about it. The opportunity was there. There were plenty of girls around. I shouldn't have done it. I didn't have any control over my own drive. I didn't have the strength to control it. In 1974, Bill and Anna divorced. Vanya was just 7 years old. Linus was 10. The divorce strained Bill's relationship with his children, particularly with Vanya. Years would pass before they'd repair that bond. In 1978, Bill married Sarah McEwen Mottram. She was different from Anna, grounded, supportive. She understood the demands of Bill's career. She didn't resent Coronation Street the way Anna had. Sarah gave Bill stability, a home. In 1981, they had a daughter, Verity. In 1983, they had another daughter, Edwina. And in 1985, they had a son, James, who they christened William. Sarah managed the household. She raised the children. She kept everything together while Bill worked long hours at Granada Studios. For the first time in his life, Bill felt like he had a real family, a real home. But that happiness wouldn't last. In November 1984, 18-month-old Edwina became ill. The family thought she had a bad cold. Nothing serious, just a cough, a runny nose. Children get sick all the time. But Edwina's condition worsened. On November 16, 1984, she died from acute bronchial pneumonia. She was 18 months old. Bill and Sarah were devastated. How do you bury a child? How do you go on? Bill later spoke about the morning of Edwina's funeral. I woke up and I saw a bright ball of golden light, and Edwina's face was in the middle of it, smiling, and with it came a wonderful feeling of peace. That vision helped Bill. It gave him comfort, the belief that Edwina was somewhere better, somewhere peaceful. Sarah held the family together. Bill said years later, "She kept us all together, and we had to pick ourselves up and carry on. It was a very difficult time." They grieved for months, for years. But eventually, they got to a point where they could talk about Edwina, about her short life. The letters they received from fans and friends were amazing. People who'd lost children themselves, people who understood. Bill and Sarah's relationship grew stronger because they talked. They didn't bury the pain, they shared it. And that shared grief became the foundation of their marriage. Through all of this, Bill kept working. Kept playing Ken Barlow. Coronation Street became his constant, his routine, his escape. 5 days a week, he'd drive to Granada Studios in Manchester. He'd put on Ken Barlow's cardigan, sit in the Barlow's living room, play out storylines about other people's problems. It was easier than facing his own. Ken Barlow became Britain's moral compass on Coronation Street, the voice of reason. The man who'd been through multiple marriages, countless affairs, and endless drama, but who always tried to do the right thing. Bill played Ken for over 60 years, longer than any other actor has played a single role in television history. In 1999, he won the British Soap Awards Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2001, he was awarded an MBE. In 2010, he was listed in the Guinness World Records as the longest-serving television star in a continuous role. But the work wasn't always easy. In October 2008, Bill revealed he'd had a 2-year feud with actress Pat Phoenix, who played Elsie Tanner. They didn't speak to each other for 2 years. The feud started when Pat changed a scene without telling Bill. He was furious. They were professionals, so they kept working together. But off camera, they didn't speak. Eventually, they reconciled. They became good friends. Bill even admitted years later that he'd had a relationship with Pat during his first marriage. Sarah knew about it. She knew exactly what Bill was like. But as he told Piers Morgan, she knew I'd changed. The years between Edwina's death and Sarah's passing were Bill's happiest on Coronation Street. He'd found peace at home with Sarah and the children. Verity was growing up. James was thriving. The hole that Edwina's death had left never fully healed. but they'd learn to live with it. Sarah made sure of that. She'd talk about Edwina openly. She'd remind the children they had a sister in heaven. She kept Edwina's memory alive without letting the grief consume them. At work, Bill was at the height of his powers as Ken Barlow. The storylines in the 1980s and 1990s gave Ken depth, complexity. His affair with Wendy Crozer in 1989 created a media frenzy. His marriage to Deirdre had always been turbulent. They'd marry, divorce, have affairs, reunite. The public couldn't get enough of them. When Deirdre was wrongly imprisoned in 1998, Ken stood by her. The Free the Weatherfield One campaign became a national obsession. Even Prime Minister Tony Blair mentioned it in Parliament. Bill later said those were some of his favorite years on the show. The writing was sharp, the storylines were compelling, and he had Anne Kirkbride, who played Deirdre, as his on-screen partner. They had chemistry, trust, a friendship that lasted decades. Bill also became close with other members of the cast. Barbara Knox, who played Rita Sullivan, became a dear friend. They'd worked together since the 1960s. They'd seen each other through marriages, divorces, deaths, and births. When you work with someone for over 40 years, they become family. That's what Coronation Street was to Bill. Family. The cast would celebrate birthdays together, attend each other's weddings, support each other through personal crises. When Anne Kirkbride died in 2015, Bill was devastated. He'd worked alongside her for over 40 years. She'd played his wife, his ex-wife, his friend. At the National Television Awards, just days after Anne's death, Bill stood on stage and paid tribute. His voice broke with emotion. The nation seemed to want us together, and I feel so blessed, honored, and privileged to have had those years working with Anne. The losses kept piling up. Liz Dawn, who played Vera Duckworth, died in 2017. Bill had known her for decades, worked alongside her countless times, watched her battle emphysema for years. When she died, another piece of Coronation Street's history went with her. Bill Tarmy, who played Jack Duckworth, had died in 2012. Jean Alexander, who played Hilda Ogden, died in 2016. One by one, Bill's generation of Coronation Street actors was disappearing. He was becoming the last of the originals, the sole survivor from that first episode in 1960. On February 7, 2009, Bill and Sarah went to bed as usual. They were at their home in Wilmslow, Cheshire. Bill woke up during the night. Sarah was lying next to him, not breathing, not moving. She died in his arms. No warning, no illness, no chance to say goodbye. Bill called for help, but it was too late. Sarah was gone. It took 9 months to determine the cause of death. Sarah's heart had simply stopped beating. There was no structural failure, no disease, no heart attack or stroke. Her body just stopped producing the electrical impulse that made her heart beat. She was 58 years old. Bill was 76. They'd been married for 31 years. Bill was shattered. Sarah had been everything to him. The woman who'd kept the family together after Edwina's death. The woman who'd supported his career, who'd forgiven his past mistakes, who'd loved him unconditionally. And now she was gone. Coronation Street gave Bill compassionate leave, but he returned to work quickly. Too quickly, some said. But Bill needed the routine, needed Ken Barlow, needed something to hold on to. On March 2, 2018, Bill was filming at Coronation Street when he received a text message. His daughter Vanya was seriously ill. She was in hospital in Chichester, West Sussex. Bill left immediately. He drove nearly 300 miles from Manchester to London, where he picked up his son, James. Then they drove to Chichester. They were 15 minutes away from the hospital when the sat-nav took them down a country road covered in snow. The car skidded, went straight on. smashed a sign, hit a hedgerow. The whole front of the car was destroyed. Bill and James were shaken but unhurt. They called for help. By the time they reached the hospital, it was too late. Vanya had died. She was 50 years old. Bill never got to say goodbye. Vanya had died from liver failure. It was sudden, unexpected. The family was in shock. Bill's relationship with Vanya had been strained after his divorce from Anna. Vanya had been just 7 when her parents split. She'd resented Bill for years, for leaving, for not being there. But in recent years, they'd repaired their relationship. Vanya's fiancé, Toby Evans, later said, "She was close with him before she died. Bill's been down all weekend and we've been arranging the funeral. The family is heartbroken." Coronation Street gave Bill compassionate leave again. But once more, he returned to work. Because work was all he had. Work was the thing that kept him going. After Vanya's death, Bill spoke to Spirit and Destiny magazine about his grief. What he said shocked some people. "If I grieve, it's because I miss her, and that's negative. And where she is, she'll pick up on that, so I send her my love. After the death of the physical body, the soul returns to heaven, which is our eternal home. Vanya has gone to a far better, happier place, and I don't need to grieve for her." He admitted that for the first few days after her death, it was natural to grieve, but within a week, he got over it, because he believed she was in a beautiful place, reunited with Sarah, with Edwina, with other loved ones. Some people criticized Bill for those comments. How could a father get over losing a child in just a week? But Bill's spiritual beliefs had sustained him through decades of loss. He believed in the afterlife, in reincarnation, in the idea that death was just a transition to something better. In 2008, he'd published an autobiography called Soul on the Street, which contained extensive philosophical content about his beliefs. Those beliefs had helped him survive Edwina's death, Sarah's death, and now Vanya's death. Without them, he might not have made it through. Bill's spiritual beliefs weren't new. They'd been developing for decades. After Edwina's death in 1984, Bill had turned to spiritualism for answers. He attended meetings, read extensively about the afterlife, about reincarnation, about the soul's journey. Sarah supported him in this. She didn't necessarily share all his beliefs, but she understood he needed them. They gave him comfort. They gave him hope. The idea that Edwina wasn't really gone, that she was somewhere better, somewhere peaceful, waiting for them. In the years after Sarah's death, Bill's beliefs became even more important. He spoke openly about them in interviews. Some people thought he was eccentric, strange. Others found his beliefs comforting, inspiring. Bill didn't care what people thought. He knew what he knew. He'd seen things, felt things. The vision of Edwina on the morning of her funeral. The sense of Sarah's presence after she died. These weren't fantasies to him. They were real, and they kept him going. In 2010, Bill published a second book called The Soul of Ken Barlow. It explored his philosophical and spiritual beliefs in even greater depth. He wrote about reincarnation, about the purpose of life, about why we're here and where we go when we die. Critics dismissed it as New Age nonsense. But for Bill, it was his truth, the framework that helped him make sense of unimaginable loss. How else do you explain losing 2 daughters and a wife? How else do you get up every morning and keep going? Bill's answer was simple. You believe there's something more, something beyond this life, something beautiful waiting on the other side. His relationship with his surviving children became even more important after Vanya's death. Linus, his eldest son, had carved out his own acting career. They'd remained close over the years. Verity, his daughter with Sarah, was grown with her own life. James, his youngest son, lived nearby. Bill saw them regularly. They were his anchor. his reason to keep going beyond Coronation Street. But even with them, Bill sometimes felt isolated, alone. He'd outlived so many people. His parents, his first wife Anna had died in 2007, Sarah in 2009, Vanya in 2018, friends and colleagues from Coronation Street. The list kept growing. At 92, Bill was surrounded by memories, by ghosts, by the weight of decades. So why has William Roache never left Coronation Street? At 92 years old, he's still there, still playing Ken Barlow, still filming scenes, still learning lines. The truth is simple. Coronation Street saved him. After Edwina died in 1984, work gave him purpose. After Sarah died in 2009, work gave him routine. After Vanya died in 2018, work gave him a reason to get up in the morning. Ken Barlow became more than a character. He became Bill's lifeline, his way of coping with grief that would have destroyed most people. In interviews, Bill has said he'll keep working as long as he's able, as long as the producers want him, as long as he can remember his lines. Because what else would he do? Retire, sit at home alone with his memories? That would kill him faster than any illness. Coronation Street gave Bill a family when his own family was torn apart by loss. The cast and crew became his support system, his friends, his constant. And Ken Barlow gave him an identity beyond the grief, beyond the tragedy, beyond the losses that defined his personal life. Bill Roache is the longest-serving actor in television history. Over 64 years playing the same character. That's not just dedication, that's survival. That's a man who found salvation in routine, who needed work to keep breathing, who chose to honor the people he'd lost by continuing to live, by continuing to work, by continuing to be Ken Barlow. And that, more than any storyline, is the truth about William Roache's life on Coronation Street. So what do you think? Is Bill's dedication to Coronation Street admirable, or should he have retired years ago? Do his spiritual beliefs help him cope, or do they concern you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed learning about William Roache's incredible life and the truth about why he's never left Coronation Street, hit that subscribe button. We'll be bringing you more untold stories from British television's golden age. Thanks for watching.